What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to my channel, Nova's Knowledge. And today we are going to be taking a look and messing around in a Docker lab and trying to figure out a little bit more on how to create a container and a microservice is what we will be doing today. Before we do that, do the intro. Before we hop into the Docker Playground lab, I first want to talk about what a monolithic versus microservice architecture actually is. I will be quoting it from a website that I found, and you can find it in my blog that I write later. So a monolithic architecture, what it actually is it's more of a unified model for the design of a system program, and then a microservice architecture is more of an architectural style that structures together many different microservices that can be used inside of a container. And a container is something that can be, or that encapsulates different softwares, and it's how you implement them into different companies and so on and so forth. That's just a very brief definition of these, and it's not something that is meaning that's something that they go in much more detail, but that's just the start of it. Okay, so what we're first going to want to do is we are going to be creating an instance, and I will be cloning a Git from somewhere that I found on GitHub. So we will copy this over, Control-Shift-V. Now it's cloned all of our code, and we have it right here. So now what we're going to do is now you can see it even more. Right here is our environment example that we're going to be doing, or .env. That's what that means, but I have, we're going to configure this Docker instance right here and use this environment of how we're going to do. We're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to paste it in here. And now we have that ready to go. Now we're going to go into our editor. And now you can see our environment that we'll be working in. So we'll have a new service, our API key, and then this is going to be the URL that we are focusing on. So what I'm first going to do is get this API key from news.api. So we're going to copy that over. Paste that right here. Hit save. Exit out of this. And what we want to do is we want to make sure we are running this on the 4000 port. Right now the page isn't working, but something is popping up, and this is the URL that we'll be using. So I'm going to copy this URL and go back into the editor, back where we were, and right here is where we will be pasting it. We exit out, and now what we need to do, go back into here and use the public URL, put it on port 1000, and now we need to type this up to run the application. So it's going to be docker compose up. I don't know why I'm typing it. I copied it. That's not right. Oh, I guess it is right. So now it's just going to run through and pull the different images and extract it and download it all. So let's flash forward to when this is done right now. Docker just finished running through all of it, and you can see here, this is where the images are pulled through. We can go through, see this is where the first image is pulled through, and then this is where the second image for the service component is pulled through. And you can see all the pulls are complete, and it's just running through and making sure that the code on the backend part is working enough so that we can do this. So you'll want to run it on the 80 component, and you'll see this button. You'll click it right here. In the latest news, and in a few seconds, all of these different news articles are coming up from the API code that we got. So now something cool that we're going to work with in the web components part is if we right click this and inspect, just like we did in our video last week, I believe, you're going to see this web component right here. The new service tag equals laptop. Now it has a specific name tag. We can change this, which is really cool. to anything that we want it to, and it will pull different articles. So if we wanted to do iPhone, hit enter. Once it's done loading, there will be a bunch of different articles about the iPhone. So we'll click this one and it'll take us to a different news article site, which is very cool. So another thing that we're going to look at is that, remember how I said we have our microservice running on our port 4000? So now we want to see how the API is actually working with it. So now instead of clicking the 80 button, or the 80 port, which would take us to here, we're going to click the 4000 one, and it should throw us an error. It cannot get it because we need to put /GraphQL, and this is where our microservice API will be running, which is very cool. So now that we are in our microservice API, we can check out and see how it actually works on the backend part. So if we click docs here on the side, and remember we're getting news articles, so you want to see what you can pull from these news articles to see what you want. And these are all the different details that you want. And I've already predetermined something. We're going to go here and paste it in. Close this. Hit run. Now you're going to see a bunch of different articles. The title of the article, the URL of the article, and the author. Tesla's biggest. Here we go. We go to this. Should be, yep. Here we go. Let's see. The author is oilprice.com. That's because there's no author. And Tesla's biggest competitor, ditching nickel and cobalt. So yes, that one was right. And just like that, we now have a working microservice API, which is very neat and very cool of how we did this using Docker and GraphQL. And just to show you again, if I would have changed this tag to iPhone, like we did at the in port 80, and we ran it, now we have different iPhone URLs and different articles. So very cool that we have a working news article API, so if microservice. So if you ever need one of those, please hit me up. I've got one made and I will send it your way. But anyways, that is it for today's video. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. I think this concept is so cool and very interesting to see how everything works together, and how if you change one thing, it changes another thing within either the Docker lab or the Docker playground, or the different microservice or the web components. Everything just pushed together, and very interesting while completing this. So if you enjoyed today's video, give it a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And I will see you guys next week. Peace.